Hey. Let's see if we can make sure everything is set up here. And make sure that that's going on. Make sure the chat is coming up like it's supposed to. There it is. A slight delay. I wonder if I have it delayed too slow. Oh, maybe that's all right. And we'll see if we get anybody in here before we start the discussion. Certainly quite a hot topic, it seems. One more thing. See if that works. Yep. Hey, Maria. Did you get caught up, or did you just watch the verdict, didn't you? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I thought that's what you did since you were gone. That's good. Okay. So I guess everything is still working. You cheated. Yeah, I guess you did cheat. Although I have to be honest, there was a few witnesses for the defense that I watched after the verdict was given, but before the sentencing. So I did not, I had everything caught up by the time the sentencing was given out. I was praying for her though. Well, I unfortunately thought that it would happen the way that it did. Not happy about it, but give it a few more minutes before I kind of go into this like I am hoping to. She's still going to need a lot of prayers though, because she's kind of, I think she's kind of ruined her future anyway, even though she's not going to spend any time in jail. No, I did not agree with it. I agreed that the jury had to make the decision that they did based on the direction of the judge. But I don't agree with the end result. And you'll find out after I get this. I'm actually going to kind of summarize what happened, and then I'm going to go into why I don't agree with what happened. I do agree that she needs help. I don't want to get into that first because then it might not make sense if somebody comes in and watches this later and doesn't even know about the case. So we'll give it another minute or two. Did you enjoy your vacation? You know, you could get into Discord and talk about it with me if your voice feels up to it. Yes, you were on the beach and I was at work putting up with a bunch of silliness. My voice isn't good today. Is it all raspy and breaking up and you're coughing? I sure hope you didn't get pneumonia. That would be terrible. See, I'm going to do my first video testing and probably crap out the beginning of this. Hopefully, if the discussion goes right. I hope I'm not making you type on your phone. You should be on your computer. It's easier to type, or your tablet. Okay. It's a shame they don't put your little picture over here. It does show that you're a wrench, though, doesn't it? You're making lunch for the kids. It's kind of a late lunch, isn't it? My daughter's out gallivanting with her friends in the neighborhood. So I'm hoping she's behaving herself for once. Pasta. Surprise, surprise. All right, well, while you're making the lunch, I guess I'll relieve you from having to type at the moment. And I will kind of do this recap. Homework. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, I guess they've been out of school all week. I guess they would have homework. Yeah, lots of it. All right. So I'll read this so that you can finish cooking. And then maybe we can get into for the whole week, you're right. Then we can get into the discussion. So Skylar Richardson, Skylar Brooke Richardson, Brooke Skylar Richardson, however you want to call her, was a former Ohio high school cheerleader who buried her newborn daughter in the backyard of her family home, and she was sentenced yesterday to 3 years probation following a lengthy, widely publicized court battle. She's now 20, and she was sentenced on one felony charge of corpse abuse after she was acquitted on the other 3 charges on Thursday, which were aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangerment. She was given a 7-day jail sentence, but was credited for time served, as they said she already had served 7 days in jail. During her sentencing, she said she was really, really sorry, and she believes that she has become better in the knowledge that she's upset everyone and hurt so many people with what she's done. She was an 18-year-old senior at the time that she became pregnant and secretly gave birth to a baby girl at her home in Carlisle, Ohio in May of 2017, days after her high school prom. The baby girl's remains were discovered near her family's backyard barbecue pit about 2 months later. Throughout the 2-year legal fight, prosecutors alleged Richardson intentionally killed her newborn and disposed of the body because she did not want to ruin her perfect life, which included starting classes at the University of Cincinnati in the fall of 2017. The defense, however, maintained that Richardson's baby, which she apparently named Annabelle, was stillborn, and that the flustered teen buried the baby out of sadness and fear of repercussion. Although the forensic pathologist testified that the baby died from homicidal violence, Warren County prosecutor Dave Fornshell said Thursday, following Richardson's acquittal, that the decomposition made it impossible to discern how the child actually died. Judge Donald Oda II on Friday slammed Richardson's grotesque disregard for life as he handed down her lenient sentence, adding, "I know in my heart that if you would have made different decisions in this case, Annabelle would be here today." So, I do disagree with the 7-day sentencing, considering he could have given her 6 months in jail. And the reason why I would have liked to seen him sentence her to 6 months in jail, even though I understand they seem to have some money issues with and population in the jail right now. She spent the entire time she was waiting for this case to be heard and to get finished at home on bail. And the judge had set her bail at $50,000, which means they only had to put $5,000 cash down. So I feel like she probably didn't learn her lesson in that she, I don't feel, is being held accountable for her actions. I think that as society more and more seems to put less value on life in general, more and more of these things are going to start happening, and I think that they're going to have to either change the way that they have the laws set up or come up with new laws to deal with situations like this. She had lots of options. I don't believe that she didn't know she was pregnant until she went to the doctor a couple of weeks before she had the baby. So she had plenty of options, because if she didn't think that she was pregnant until then, I don't think she would have known immediately that it was her previous boyfriend that was the father. I also Um, think that she knew probably within the first couple of months. And that would have left her lots of legal options to um, handle this in a different fashion that would have been legal and kept her out of trouble. I don't think that it's right that girls can get pregnant and not tell the father of the child. I think that that is completely unconscionable. I understand it's legal, but I believe it's completely unconscionable. And the fact that his family didn't even find out until way after he had already submitted his DNA that he was the father of this baby is completely ridiculous to me. I think that the actions leading up to delivering the baby should also be taken into consideration when I know in Ohio, evidently they can't, when they were trying to charge her with the murder, um, it had to be after the baby was already born alive. I do believe the baby was born alive. The reasons that I believe the baby was born alive are based on forensically what they said about the measurement of the bones that they did have. The doctor visit she did go to, the baby was obviously alive. The doctor was not concerned for the health of the baby at the time. So the baby had to be within a reasonable weight, size, all of those things. Um, the heartbeat was strong. So all of those, I mean, and how, lots of us have had babies, and your baby doesn't go from completely healthy to being a stillborn in the matter of 11 days without something happening. Something catastrophic would have to happen within those 11 days for you to give birth to a stillborn. So I understand why the jury did not come back with um, even a manslaughter conviction, which is what I would have liked to have seen, because the prosecution couldn't um, prove beyond a reasonable doubt to an entire jury, even though I have no doubt that that baby was born alive. I knew that it was virtually impossible for an entire jury to know beyond a reasonable doubt that that baby was born alive. However, all of the steps that she took up to the point of birthing that child, I don't understand why those are not taken into consideration. If she would have gone, no, birth control pills taken that late in the pregnancy would not have killed the baby. Because I actually read an article about that. If you take the birth control pills early on in the pregnancy, it absolutely can cause a miscarriage or a variety of other issues. But that late in the pregnancy, to start taking them, uh, actually, I didn't see anything that would say that you'd even have a birth defect. The morning after pill, she didn't take the morning after pill. Oh, the morning. What do you mean the morning after the drug? The What are you talking about? Maybe it was the birth control pills she took that made. No, 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 no. The baby, based on the length of the femur bone that they had, was the right size for a full term baby. I there's no way the birth control pills that she took, even if she took them for 11 days, there's no way. Not from everything that I looked up. Were you talking about the morning after pill? Is that what you're talking about, the morning after pill? She did something to have it come out. I don't think so. I think that baby was full term, and because if you look at that baby was full term and was ready to come out. I think that's why she probably was able to keep quiet, because she probably, after she, had cramping at the football game, the night of the prom, I think all of that was labor. She just didn't know what it was. She was young. She'd never had a baby before. Um, but she doesn't know. She does not know. Okay, so no cord. I don't believe that there was no cord. I think she just. Now think about this. If you were 18 and you were trying to conceal a pregnancy the entire time you were pregnant, you were trying to secretly birth the baby. Not always. The first baby does not always take a long time to come out. It doesn't always happen like that. And you are not okay, so here's the thing too. Even though they said, oh, well, she looked up this and she looked up that, they did not tell us all of the things that she searched for on all of her electronics. Now, I have a 14-year-old daughter. You have a teenage daughter. I know that my daughter and all her friends, they look up everything on the internet. There's not anything they don't think they know about because they've read it about it on the internet. So you can't convince me that she wasn't looking up all that to try to figure out how to get by with that. What I don't understand is if she didn't want the baby, obviously she didn't want the baby because she concealed it. She ended up burying it in the backyard. And she could have just as easily, when she thought maybe she was pregnant, gone to Planned Parenthood, had a pregnancy test, and had an abortion. She could have had the morning after pill after she had sex without protection. There's all kinds of things. I mean, we all know what causes a baby. And if you do the thing that's going to possibly cause you to be pregnant and you don't want the responsibility that comes along with that, there are certainly options out there. And I don't know what it's like in their state, but it seems to me across most of the country, your kid can go to the public school, go to the nurse, have them call Planned Parenthood, set up an appointment, go and have an abortion, and you don't even have a clue that it happened. So I can't imagine she couldn't have gone to her counselor or her nurse at school and done the very same thing. Why she went through the whole, I don't know what was going through her head. She obviously, it definitely has issues and she definitely does need help. But I also don't feel like giving her time served without, I mean, gosh, you could have given her a month in jail, a week in jail, something to inconvenience her, because I still don't feel like she's been inconvenienced enough to learn that what she did was wrong. I think it, I, it is all very sad. I completely agree with you. I also have questions in my head as to whether or not she didn't have help. That's I can't imagine that somebody didn't know what was going on. I certainly have an issue believing that. I think that she should have at least spent a week in jail. I think that she should have some sort of mandatory counseling, I don't know, help for her eating disorder. Because nothing that has happened because of this incident is going to keep it from happening again. It's kind of like your kids, they do something, you send them to their room and you ground them, whatever you do for their punishment. And, you're trying to teach them a lesson. Where's the lesson in this for her? And where's the lesson in this, as publicized as it was, for any other teenager who is in the same position to not do the same thing? And in the midst of all of it, the person who's the most victimized is dead. And if she had had a stillborn, she could have called 911. None of this would have happened. And instead, she buried the baby in the backyard in the ground. So by the time she opened her mouth to say anything, everything was gone. Anything that would have told them what happened was gone. There were no organs, no tissue, no nothing. So she obviously, I don't know, she either is really, really naive and dumb, or somebody helped her, because I can't understand how she would have had that baby and buried the baby in the backyard that same night, in the middle of the night. If she had that baby at 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, how in the world would you get all that cleaned up, bury your child in the backyard by the time everybody wakes up in the morning? How does that happen? I certainly don't know. What do you think? I know you probably agree with it because I know you have felt really bad for her this whole time. Yeah, she could have had help. Yeah, I can't get that gut feeling out of my head. However, I also don't understand. I do agree she needs mental help. I wholeheartedly believe that she has uh, some sort of issue with an eating disorder that obviously needs to be, one, diagnosed properly, and two, she needs to get help with that. The other thing I didn't understand about that is when the dad got up, when they were doing the victim impact speech, the father got up and was talking about, she's got this eating disorder and we need to get her help and all this stuff, but they haven't been getting her help this whole time this case has been going on. So how how would you how could you possibly plead for leniency because your daughter needs help with this eating disorder and you've had what 2 years that you've been waiting for this trial and you haven't gotten her any help yet? Why wouldn't you have already started getting her help? I don't understand that. Yeah, I thought so too. And I felt so bad for. Oh yeah, I have no doubt she's 89 pounds. She looked pretty bad, I'd have to say, um, sitting there in court. But right, why haven't they been getting her help? She's been at home this whole time. She's down to 89 pounds. Why have they not been getting her help? But it's the very opposite. Part of the reason she probably has this eating disorder is because the mom's been encouraging it. The mom's been encouraging her to keep her weight down and, take these pills and do this and do that. And that certainly isn't what a young teenager or, a young lady who, just became an adult should be getting as feedback from their mother. I just, and I don't have any high hopes that her mom's a real tool. Yeah, and the thing about that too, why why did the prosecution tie up the mom the way they did? Okay. So they they put her as a witness for the prosecution that they were going to call. I'm sure it was to keep her out of the courtroom, but they could have called her, and who knows where that would have led. Like, why didn't they get her up there and ask her why, she focused so much on her weight? Maybe she'd get up there and say, I didn't do any of those things. I mean, who knows? I just don't have a lot of confidence that Skylar's going to get any help with her eating disorder since she's been 2 years at home and she's not gotten any help yet. So they had to wait for the case to be over to get her help. Hey, Mr. Shannonite, came to learn a few things. Jokes are switched off. Yeah, I will. I wanted to do a discussion about this case, and after we get done talking about it, I'm gonna go back. I'll do a different live and go back to doing gameplay and stuff, and then we can joke around. She couldn't go to her mom for help because she told her if you get pregnant, you'll ruin your life. Right. I don't know why any mother would say that to their daughter, though. Because if you. Right. Words are powerful, especially from parents, especially from a mother who is telling you if you get pregnant, it's going to ruin your life. What is that going to make you do if you get pregnant? It certainly isn't going to make you run to your mom and say, hey, mom, I'm sorry, I really screwed up, but I got pregnant. Whereas you would hope that your daughter would screw up. Now, you don't hope that your daughter screws up, but if your daughter screwed up and, got pregnant or had something else happen, that they would come to you and say, hey, mom, I made a mistake and here's what happened. what can we do? I mean, there was a lot of options for Skylar early on. However, early on, she figured out that she was pregnant, because I do not believe that she was that she was bleeding the whole time. I don't think that she was having her period the whole time. I do believe that it's possible that her periods were irregular, and so it might have taken her a little bit longer to realize. But I can't imagine she didn't know by the 3-month mark that she was pregnant. Because by then, I mean, we've had kids. I mean, my goodness, when I got pregnant with my daughter, which was my second child, before I even thought that I might be pregnant and took the pregnancy test, my husband knew I was pregnant. Right, she did say she did say that she felt the baby moving. So at that point, she had to know that something was up and that she was probably pregnant. Ignoring it certainly isn't going to make it go away. And goodness gracious, I also don't think she was like, because obviously early on anyway, she wasn't even on the pill, I'm guessing, because she went for the first time to the gynecologist 11 days before she had the baby to get on the pill, which, you know, if she's going to do that, she should be getting on it before she starts having sex, because it kind of defeats the purpose when you've already gotten pregnant to try to go get birth control. And she had so many options at that point. She could have, I mean, not my option, but she could have gone to Planned Parenthood. She could have decided at that point, okay, well, I want to I want to birth a baby and, give it up for adoption because I'm getting ready to go into college. Or, give the grandmother, give the father of the child's mom an opportunity to take the baby in if her or her parents did not want to take care of the baby. Any of those options are seriously, well, most of those options are seriously better than the way things ended up. And how many times do we hear stories on the news of teenagers, mostly teenagers, having babies in the bathroom toilets? How many of those do they tell us are stillborn? Not very many. No, teenagers are healthy. Most teenagers are healthy. They tend to have healthy babies, even if they're birthing them in the toilet. That's why I'm upset. I'm disappointed that the judge only sentenced her to 7 days, and then she had 7 days, so it was just time served. Because, I don't know, I think spending 7 days in jail might give her a little bit more inconvenience for doing what she did. I mean, I can't even imagine, even if I birthed a stillborn because I was trying to conceal a pregnancy the whole time, how in the world do you think it's okay to bury your baby in the backyard? I mean, here you're not even allowed to bury your pet in the backyard. So, my goodness, why would you think it would be okay to bury your baby in the backyard? Okay, so another question for you, Maria, because I have had some interesting ideas about this. So, they found, obviously, stains in her bedroom. Do you think that it was just from her, obviously, bleeding after the fact, or do you think that I don't know. See, I kind of thought maybe she kept the baby in her room until she could sneak out to bury it. Because I can't imagine how she birthed that child, cleaned everything up, went outside, dug, well, even if it was a small hole, put the child in the hole, covered it up, put a planter on top of it, and then went back to bed before everybody got up. I don't know if it was me and I was in a house with three other people, two of which being my parents and my brother. I'd be so scared that they would have heard me doing something. I think, I would be trying to hole up in my room, waiting things out. A few years ago, someone left their stillborn in a bush not far from where I live. Sadly, some 8-year-old girls found it while playing. Very sad state of affairs. Right. Well, see, the dogs didn't bark. That I don't think the dogs barking. I don't. I don't think that has much to do with anything. I really don't. Because if you lock yourself in the bathroom, the dogs aren't going to necessarily bark at you if they're already asleep. I mean, we're talking 3 o'clock in the morning. So everybody's already gone to sleep. I mean, I get up to go to the bathroom. The biggest thing the dogs do is move into my spot. And then I have to shove them out of it so I can get back in bed. But Mr. Shannonite, you were talking about that stillborn. So there's no I don't know how anybody in their own mind can toss even a stillborn child out like the garbage or just throw them in the ground. I don't Maria, I don't even understand how nobody realized she was pregnant. I mean, it's to me, it's pretty obvious that she was pregnant. Or at least to the point I would have been questioning it. Not everybody gains a ton of weight either when they, get pregnant. However, I know that the defense were completely pushing that fundal height measurement, but to me, that wasn't even a piece of evidence because considering it's a screening tool and you have to have something to measure it against, and the doctor, after he, and of course, it's kind of confusing as to whether or not he actually used the proper tool to take that measurement because he said two different things. Um, he wanted her to come back for an ultrasound. Well, odds are, if she would have come back for another doctor's visit, there would have been enough information to know better what was going on than just one visit. I mean, why? Unless the mother was in on the whole thing. See, that's the thing that I keep going back to. I don't understand how, as a mother, you wouldn't know. And let's face it, I know my daughter, and she's only 14. I can't imagine what she's gonna be like when she's 18. She's always like showing me her stomach and asking me if she thinks that if I think she's gained any weight or if she looks fat or okay, well, if you were pregnant, running around showing me your belly all the time, obviously, or the way they run through the house with a towel on when they take a shower, how would you not know? And who helped her get dressed for the prom? I mean, somebody had to zip up her dress, didn't they? I mean, every time I went to a prom, somebody was zipping up my dress. I didn't do it myself. What if the mother actually helped with it and was just acting like she didn't know? Right. And then that means she got away with the whole thing with nothing. Oh my gosh, she knew. She went to the doctor appointment with her. Well, because Skylar was 18, the doctor did not see. That's the thing too. They did do an ultrasound, but they didn't want her. Skylar didn't want them to tell her mom that she was pregnant. So they did know that, and they didn't tell her, and they didn't have to tell her because she was 18. But I'm sure that it was the parental insurance that was paying for that doctor visit. And I also don't agree with that. I think that if I'm responsible for my child's medical expenses, I should know what's going on with them. If I'm paying for an ultrasound or a pregnancy test, I should have the right to know that that's what's going on. What happened, well, I guess there wasn't enough time before she had the baby, but what happened when how the insurance sends you the little detailed bill? Like, I know when my kids go to the doctor, you get a little bill of here's what the bill was, here's what the insurance paid, this is not a bill. How did nobody see that paper when it came in? Obviously, they wouldn't have seen it before she had the baby because usually it's about a month before you get that. But even if it was 2 months, by the time she was talking to the police and they were finding the baby, they would have seen it. Right. And then wouldn't you be going, why is there an ultrasound listed on this? Because you're supposed to be paying attention to those bills so that when, doctors are putting bogus charges on there, you can tell your insurance company so that, they can get the charges reversed. Avocado chicken marshmallow. Howdy, just dropping by. That's an interesting name. Yeah, I can't imagine she didn't know. She might not have known right away, but at some point she knew. And does it does make more sense to me why the sequence of events would happen the way they did if the mother knew, because I mean, the mother would know that if you buried, I didn't know that the baby would decompose that quickly to nothing. I mean, to just bones. But obviously, you would know it would decompose if you put it straight in the ground. I mean, that's why we use vaults and caskets and everything else when we bury people, because we don't, you have to be careful because if people have diseases and all that kind of stuff, you don't want that getting in the ground and then all the other things. And yeah, it is interesting. And I kept thinking that um, absolutely that mother had to know at some point. And yeah, what in the world did they do when they got the notification from the insurance? I can imagine they could have kept that hidden from the dad by getting the mail, but the mom would have to know at that point. And why wouldn't she be questioning, what was going on then? And when the mom took Skylar back to the doctor to get her birth control pills refilled, and she was seeing the lady doctor, Why did she decide to blurt that out? I mean, she could have she could have made up a ton of different stories when the doctor asked her, "Well, you were pregnant when you were in here last time. What happened?" Instead of just blurting out that she buried the baby in the backyard. See, to me, that would be a naive young person like, "Oh, you caught me," just blurting it out. Which also made me think, do people play WoW? I thought Dota and Apex Legends took over WoW. I play WoW all the time. As a matter of fact, when I get done with this discussion, I'm going to stop this live and I will do another live and it will be WoW gameplay. But it does make me think that the mother had to have something to do with it, had some knowledge, told her what to say or what to do, or helped her clean up, or, I mean, my goodness. Okay, avocado chicken. I might do that sometime. So Maria, what do you think? If the mom had something to do with it, she totally got off scot free. I don't know. I think that this you don't normally well, okay. Normally, they don't just have the skeletal remains of an infant to try to build a homicide case around. Even when they end up with that result with adults, they've already usually done all of this investigation previously, so they kind of know, okay, somebody took this person, dumped them somewhere, whatever. The girl seemed traumatized to me. She, yeah. And what about this? They said something about um, she had been abused by a prior boyfriend or something. How come, like, if they were really going to use that as some sort of poor her campaign, why did that not come out more? So, what if the mom made her end the pregnancy in some way? That's kind of a worse thing for me to try to think about, but it's absolutely possible. What if, right, what if the the mother was the reason why they, she was trying to search for, ways to get rid of the pregnancy without going to the doctor or Planned Parenthood or whatever that search was that she entered. So when the doctor asked her, it was the guilt of knowing what happened is why she blurted out. Right? See, that's kind of it's almost like you've been feeling bad and then um somebody finally asks you and you just you're so tore up emotionally inside that you just blurt out whatever happened. I mean, could you imagine, you committed a murder, you've gotten away with it. I mean, clearly gotten away with it. Unless you say something, you so far you've gotten away with it. Why would you blurt it out to somebody? Because it's not like she blurted it out in a way that a lot of criminals do because they're bragging and, oh, look what I did and I got away with it. And, and then that person goes to the cops and turns them in. This is more, oh my gosh. Yeah, I had a stillborn and I buried her in the backyard. Uh, That was almost as shocking, the fact that she blurted that out to that doctor, as what she actually did or what she said she did. After all, getting pregnant would ruin your life. Right, that's what her mom told her. If that's the case, God will judge. That's true. That's absolutely true. Regardless, God's going to judge it at the end. Uh, And who did she text right after it was over saying my stomach is back? She texted her mom. Right. Right. Who's to say that she didn't go to her mom and say at some point, "Mom, I think I'm pregnant because look at my stomach. It's. And I don't know, maybe even her mom was like, "Oh, you're just gaining weight, hon," and gave her some more things to take, and I don't know. But I would hate to think that the mother did some kind of partial birth abortion on her own. I mean, cuz let's face it, there are places you can go to have those done legally, even if you had to drive out of the state. So I don't know, but it's kind of sad when you think about if she seemed so naive to me and wanting her mom's approval. Yeah, she does seem naive, but on the flip side, when these things happen, remember there was a woman who shot her boyfriend holding a book in the chest with a desert eagle, thinking that the book would stop it. Okay, but that's a whole nother conversation because you're not, better if you're somebody who uses guns regularly or hunts or any of those things. You know better than to point a gun at somebody you're not intending to shoot and kill. You still love me, mommy, don't you? She asked her in the interrogation room. Right, right. She didn't want to disappoint her parents. But see, that's also what the doctor for the defense, the was he a psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever he was, that um, was talking about her need to please authority. I don't know that it's necessarily all authority like they were trying to say, but I do think it was her parents. And I'm actually surprised that the prosecution, I mean, the prosecution, I am quite sure, wanted somebody to pay for this crime. I can't imagine why I don't know. Although I can't imagine why they wouldn't have pushed the mom or called her or tried to figure out if she had something to do with it or not. And what does the freaking mom say? Oh, you're not coming home. You're not going to finish that popcorn you love. And why isn't she coming home? Because she blew it by blabbing to the doctor. Yeah, I kind of had that thought cross my mind too. I just, I don't know. My bigger concern is that this kind of sends a bad signal to teenagers in general that have an unplanned pregnancy. I mean, I hope others don't try to do the same thing, but this has been plastered all over the news, so you know that there's a good chunk of them watching it. It's such a shame. Such a shame. Yeah, I couldn't understand why she was talking about that blame popcorn. Who cares about the popcorn? Like, your daughter is in jail in an interrogation room. You have just found out that she buried your grandchild in your backyard that you knew nothing about. And you're worried about her going home and eating the rest of her popcorn. Yeah, I kind of felt like she was saying, see what you've done now? You've messed it all up. And I did. At that time, I didn't think about it as, oh my gosh, you screwed this whole thing up. We had this planned out better than this. But it absolutely could have been that. So now my question is too, all she cared about was, oh, I did everything right as a mother. Right. Well, that feeds into why her daughter would be selfish. I mean, her daughter stood there when she had an opportunity to speak and said, I know I've been selfish. Who does that? She didn't give a rat's about the baby. Right. Right. But doesn't that play into the fact that people have such a disregard for life in general at this point, and the fact that we seem to be moving more and more away from people being held accountable for their actions and personal responsibility? I think both of those kind of play into this. It's quite sad, actually. 2 rats. I didn't give any rats. I don't think either one of them gave any rats about the baby, because if they did, there's two simple things they could have done. If she didn't find out she was pregnant until 11 days before she delivered that baby, two things could have happened. She could have decided to go to the hospital like a normal person and have the baby and give the baby up for adoption, or tell the father or the father's family, if you don't want to talk to the father of the child, and tell them and say, hey, I'm thinking about putting this baby up for adoption. Would you like to have the opportunity first to adopt the baby? I mean, the mother of the baby's father said she would have happily taken the baby if and not even told Skylar's parents about it. That would have been an easy way out, considering she supposedly didn't know she was pregnant till 11 days before she had the baby. So by then, you've already carried the baby the entire time. What's another 11 days? I know a lot of people, will say, well, I don't want to carry the baby, to give it up for adoption, all that stuff. But if she really didn't know she was pregnant until 11 days before she had the baby, then adoption would have been the easiest thing for her to do. And why would she risk her own health? Because first of all, if you have a stillborn child, and let's say you do have the baby at home, you absolutely should go to the doctor at the very least after that happens, because if there's anything left in there, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And two, why would you risk your health to not go to the hospital and have that baby when you've never had a baby before, so you don't even know what's going to happen? I don't know. But I've been at this for about an hour, so I guess that's enough of a discussion. Feel free to leave me civil comments in the comments with your viewpoint. Totally open to hearing other people's ideas. Hit the like if you like it. Hit the thumbs down if you don't. That's fine. Subscribe if you want to see more of my content. And I will catch you all on the flip side. See ya.